so I've decided to do a commentary on the video Fuck You Stephen King by Nuttymadam3575, the biggest Twilight lolcow on YouTube. Also, let me add, this commentary falls under fair use and cannot be removed for copyright infringement. This is going to be painful.
So, Stephen King thinks it's okay to bash Stephenie Meyer, to start out on her in public because he's not getting any limelight.
Stephen King doesn't want any of Twilight's limelight. He's made his money.
Whereas Twilight most certainly is. Well, I don't think that's okay. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to explain exactly why Stephen King needs to go and fuck off.
Not bitter much, are you?
Okay, point number one. This is what Stephen King has been saying about Stephenie Meyer. I'm going to read straight from the article on Hollywood.com.
Sadly, I can't provide a link because the article no longer exists.
Which I'm also going to post a link to in the video, in the sidebar. That way, I think. I don't know. One of those ways. Okay. King didn't mince his words.
Most critics don't.
Both Rowling and Meyer. They're speaking directly to young people, he said. The real difference is that Jo Rowling is a terrific writer and Meyer can't write worth a darn.
That's actually a pretty professional critique, so why the fuck are you complaining?
So you think that Stephenie Meyer can't write? Well, I think around about 18 million people disagree, because that's how many copies her books have sold.
Now, I did some research. As of 2010, the entire Twilight series has sold over 100 million copies worldwide, whereas King has sold over 350 million copies worldwide. Guess what? 350 million is way more than 100 million. You're dismissed.
Okay? First of all, Twilight has generated so much public interest.
For all the wrong reasons.
And so much of, just attention in general. The movie, the books, the merchandise.
Batshit insane fangirls.
Everything about Twilight has generated so much more attention than, as far as I can remember, any of your books ever did.
Again, he sold way more books than Meyer has. Over 250 million more.
Yeah, they're good books. They're classic books. Personally, I don't like them. I can never get past the third page
Probably because you dropped out of 8th grade.
without boring myself silly. Some people feel the same way about Twilight. Not a problem. Just don't start fucking shouting your mouth off to me about it, because I don't care.
Let me get this straight. No one is allowed to say anything bad about Twilight or Stephenie Meyer, but you can bump your gums as much as you want about Stephen King. Great double standard there.
How dare Stephen King start in on Stephenie Meyer just because he wants a piece of the limelight? Because I can't think of any other reason why he would have done this, other than to try and get a little bit of the limelight that Twilight has generated on himself. And he couldn't think of a better way to do it than to attack her, because he will never be able to write a book as good as Twilight.
Are you fucking kidding? Stephen King has made his goddamn money. Why the hell would he want the limelight? He has his own damn limelight. And again, he critiqued her shitty book because he's entitled to his opinion. So shut it. You're not helping your case.
Aimed at the same audience as Twilight.
Twilight is directed to preteen girls, while King is aiming toward the more mature crowd. King probably knows he'd never be able to pen young adult books, hence why he probably avoids that audience.
This whole video is off the top of my head, okay?
Yeah, it definitely shows.
Because I'm trying to just say what I think without it being scripted. I want to just get it all out.
And sounding like a complete idiot while doing so. Scripting is your friend. Use it.
Okay. But Stephen King says he does understand the appeal of the apparently crappy series. Again, bullshit, it's not crap, it's fucking amazing. Amazing fucking book.
In your opinion.
People are attracted by this is another quote, people are attracted by the stories, by the pace, and in the case of Stephenie Meyer, it's very clear that she's writing to a whole generation of girls and opening up a kind of safe joining of love and sex in those books. It's exciting and thrilling, and not particularly threatening because it's not overtly sexual. So as far as Stephen King feels and can tell and thinks, as far as I can tell from this, the reason that he thinks Twilight is so successful with the age group that it is successful with, which is teenage girls, teenage girls in general, is because it covers sexual topics without going too far into detail. It lets you think about what's going to happen. It lets you, I don't know how to say what I want to say.
Okay, I think what she's trying to say is that Twilight has sexual themes in them, but the detailing is subtle so that it's not of an explicit adult nature.
It broaches those subjects. It broaches.
Breaches. English, motherfucker. Do you speak it?
I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Right. It takes those subjects and it tackles them in a way that makes young girls not feel threatened by reading the books, in a way that allows them to read the books and not feel like they have to go and do those things. Because it's not about that. Edward isn't a pervert, he's not a paedophile.
Edward is a fucking pedophile. Get over it.
And Bella isn't a slut. The reason Edward goes into Bella's room at night and watches her sleep is because he can't sleep. He wants to see what it's like. He's fascinated, not turned on.
If I had a sparkly ass vampire watching me sleep at night, I'd fucking slap the silly cunt and shoot him in the face. By the way, that's called stalking. If you didn't notice, he's obsessed with Bella. So, that's creepy. I'm pretty sure sane girls would not want that.
There's nothing sexual about it. The only sexual thing about their relationship is the fact that they can't have sex.
Congrats, you just contradicted yourself. And if I remember correctly, they did have sex because Bella had Renesmee and Breaking Dawn. Not to mention, Bella was the one who kept urging Edward to fuck her, so yes, she is a slut.
And it's that anticipation that I believe should always be there. Pisses me off so much.
Oh gee, really? Bitch, I would have never guessed.
Another quote. A lot of the physical side of it is conveyed in things like the vampire will touch her forearm or run a hand over her skin. He continues. And she just flushes all hot and cold. And for girls, that's a shorthand for the feelings that they're not ready to deal with yet. Yeah, to a certain extent, I agree with that. The reason that the books are so popular with that age group is partly to do with the fact that it can talk about those subjects and in such a way that doesn't threaten the girls. Does anybody get what I'm saying? Seriously. Stephen King, I don't know how he thinks it's okay to do this. I mean, not only does he have a nose like a fucking skeleton.
Oh yes, that's so mature of you. Make fun of his fucking nose. At least he can take a step without causing an earthquake.
But, oh my god, no. Okay, that's not fair. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. There's no point in attacking him over appearance because that's just not fair. But still, how dare he say this? Obviously, he thinks that his books are so good.
Let me see. The Dark Tower series. Rose Red. Misery. Desperation. Pet Cemetery. The Shining. Do I even need to go on?
That gives him the right to criticise Stephenie Meyer to the extent that he's not just criticising her, he's attacking her.
Once again, he gave her a firm critique. He did not attack her. If he attacked her, he would have said, "Your writing is shit, you fail at life, go die in a hole, you stupid bitch." Did he say that? No. He said she can't write worth a darn. If there's anyone attacking anyone, it's you.
In a very non-professional way. If he was any kind of a professional author, which obviously he's not.
His critique was about as professional as you can get. Professional critique involves a firm tone, a fair analysis, and clean language. He did all of the above.
Seeing as this has happened, he thinks he's better than Stephenie Meyer, and therefore he thinks he has the right to talk about her in this way.
I'm not going to repeat myself.
Number one, he is not better. He will never be better. He is equal to, just as good as, and exactly the same as, in almost every single way, but differently.
What? That made no sense.
Stephenie Meyer's books appeal to a very different audience than Stephen King's books ever did, and probably ever will, because they're not aimed at the same audience.
Twilight is aimed at the teen crowd. King is aiming toward adults, but both groups have read Twilight and King's novels. So that statement is seriously flawed.
And that's why I don't think he understands the appeal. You have to be a certain kind of person to understand the Twilight books, and you have to be able to read them and not take them too seriously, because they're not intended for that.
This is the only time I agree with her. Anyone who would take Twilight seriously is in serious need of a reality check.
They're fantasy. They're a wild fantasy that you want your life to be, but you know it's never going to happen, but you don't care. You read it anyway, and you love it for that.
Well, a lot of people hate it for that reason. Vampires don't sparkle. End of story.
Stephen King's books are horror, as far as I know. I don't know. I can't read them because they're boring.
I don't fucking care if you find them boring. That's not an excuse to attack King, so shut up.
Pisses me off so much. Stephen King, you need to go and fuck off.
Is that the only comeback you could come up with?
Okay, your opinion is not welcome when it comes to the Twilight books. If you have nothing constructive to say, don't say anything at all. And
My God, for the last time, he gave her constructive criticism. Not everyone is going to say good things about it, and not everyone is going to bend over and kiss Meyer's ass and give her a good critique. Authors grow by accepting concrete. Hell, it took me 2 years to accept constructive criticism, but since then, I've grown into a more mature writer. Professional writers welcome constructive criticism with open arms. This you should learn.
you clearly don't have anything constructive to say, because when you try and talk about Stephenie Meyer, all you do is attack her and act like you're above her.
Okay, seriously? Meyer was not even fazed by King's words, yet here you are throwing a butthurt bitch fit over a mere critique that wasn't even directed to you.
FYI, you're not. If anything, she's a hell of a lot better than you. I know I just contradicted myself, and I don't care, because personally I believe that Stephenie Meyer is the best writer in the world, okay?
Again, your opinion. No one's opinion is fact. Obviously, your senile little brain can't comprehend this.
My opinion. Don't like it, fuck off.
Take your own advice if you don't like anyone else's opinion. I'm gonna cut the video here because, one, I'm sick of listening to this fucking lol cow, and two, she doesn't really say anything else much on the subject except that she's angry, she's pissed, blah blah blah, subscribe, and all that other happy bullshit. So yeah, there's my first commentary. Stupid.